Hi, so I'll be explaining how music theory actually works and why music theory is the way it is. So we'll start off with the very basics. That is, what exactly is sound? So sound is just molecules colliding with each other. You have molecules here. Say I pop a balloon. You hear a sound, right? So a balloon has a lot of air. It has more pressure than the nearby areas, and I burst the balloon. Air gushes out. It collides with the air molecules in the room, and then they keep colliding, sort of a domino effect, and they reach my ear. I stomp my foot. So what happens here? I hit the floor. The floor molecules, the marble molecules or whatever, they hit back. They they excite the air molecules around it, and again it reaches my ear. My ear perceives it as sound. A last example: running tap water. It hits the basin. Similar thing like my foot. Okay. So that exactly is sound. Just molecules colliding with each other. The air reaches your eardrum. It perceives. It triggers some neurons. So when air molecules move around, say I push Mugdha from here, she dashes Hari, and so on. It goes on, and she will come back after she collides with Hari. She'll come back here. Hari collides with Samrit, and the process follows, right? So if in 1 second Mugdha were to go there and come back, it's one frequency, it's one compression and one rarefaction. So you come together, that's compression, and then they move apart. It's a rarefaction, like a wave. So, are we on the same page till now? So, sound covers a long distance, but nothing moves per se. I'm talking now. The air molecules move. The air molecules, the displacement is zero. They move temporarily and they come back to the same position. So, same medium, same speed, displacement is zero. I'll come back to this, the image in a bit. Okay. So now you have these compressions, you have these rarefactions. Compressions are coming together, rarefactions are them moving apart, and you can represent them as a sound wave. So in vinyl records, you have the same thing, these compressions and rarefactions. You have them engraved in the record. So, and that's how that's how it stores music, and that's how you stored music in the olden days. Just a fun fact, sort of. So this is how the molecules sort of move, where a disturbance hits the molecule, and it forms a wave, and it. Okay. Quiz time. So Tarun keeps telling me it's a very smart crowd. So let's check that. So you have a steel rod, okay, from Earth to the moon. So I push the rod. I'm very strong, and I push the rod. So what happens? Like how long does the rod move immediately at the side of the moon, or does it take few hours? It takes a day, or what happens? I push the rod from this end, this long steel rod, and that side moves. The other side, to facing the moon, it moves. So how long does it take for it to move? Immediately, okay. Hmm. Okay. Assume no gravity. Like let's assume everything is non-existent. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm? Yeah. It move. Okay. Hmm. Okay. It's even I thought immediately, but it's not. So since yeah.
It can't be immediate because like then it's like faster than light sort of. So
Hmm.
that moves.
Right. So yeah, Tarun and Hari. Yeah. So molecules have to move. It's sort of like sound waves. So it's sort of like sound waves. Each steel molecule has to push the other, and it moves at 5 km per second. So it takes around 18 hours. So the push you make over here, At that end, it takes 18 hours for it to actually move. Uh, did I miss something? So I briefly mentioned frequency, right? Like Mugda going there and coming back, it's 1 hertz. So if she goes and comes back like 1,000 times in 1 second, that is 1,000 hertz. So music is all about frequency, the number of times a molecule moves and comes back, sort of that number of compressions and rarefactions. So every sound has a frequency. It has a set number of times the molecules. I push the molecules. When I'm talking, I'm pushing the molecules thousands of times. When Shushruta is talking, she has a higher pitch. She's a female, so she pushes it maybe twice as much as I do. So let's. So. So now you have a guitar. I'll come to the demo a bit. You have a guitar string now. You apply some force on it. So you have a long string. You apply some force. What happens? Say it vibrates at 440. It vibrates 440 times every second. Now what would happen if I halve the length of the string? I halve the length of the string and I plug the string with the same force. What would happen? Sorry? Yeah, 880 hertz. So that's how musical instruments they control frequency. So you have length, you apply force, you halve the length, it it vibrates at double the speed.
So there's also thickness like in our guitar string.
Yeah.
It's like more tension, so it vibrates.
Yeah. So if it's thinner, it vibrates more. It has higher frequency. If it's thicker, a piano and guitar strings they vibrate less. So it has a more bassy tone to it. And the standard tuning, they call it concert pitch. Every musical instrument, they try in a concert, in a band, they try to get it to concert pitch, 440 hertz. Okay. So clear with notes, right? Clear with what is sound, clear with notes. Okay. So coming to the concept of relative pitch. So if I were to sing happy birthday and if somebody else were to sing happy birthday, even though we have different voices, like say a 2-year-old kid sings happy birthday and a 40-year-old bassy singer sings happy birthday, you'd still... Oh, somebody's... Yeah. So the way we identify songs is by the difference in each individual note. So even though different singers sing the same song, you'll identify the tune. So A is we saw concert pitch, which is 440 hertz, right? And you have certain musical notes with certain ratios. Okay, 440, you have 660, which makes our brain realize, okay, this is the jump which is happening. So 100 to 200 is a 2x jump. 200 to 400 is a 2x jump again. Since the ratio remains the same, it sounds the same to our brains. So let me just show you a demo. So guesses? Yeah. Same thing if I do it. It's a lot sweeter, it's a lot higher, you can say, but you get the essence of the tone, which is it's twinkle twinkle. So relative pitch is basically so you have 261, 261, 392, which is a 1.5x ratio, right? 260 and 390, it's 1.5x. 440 again. Okay, I'm bad at, yeah. So almost not twice, 1.75 or something like that. So if I play 520 hertz and 800 hertz, it would again sound the same. So relative pitch. Any questions here?
What are those numbers? I don't think I understood.
So this is C C G G. Just the A. Notes, scientific notation. Scientific notation for the notes. So we saw A is 440 hertz concert pitch. This is C G A. So why do we do this? Because you have frequency, like it's just a number, right? You can have, it's infinite. Numbers are infinite. So musical instruments cannot play. We cannot hear infinite. We cannot identify infinite frequencies because humans, yeah, we aren't. And so we sort of have these placeholders. If it's around this, okay, it's a C note. We made some adjustments, but yeah, this is more or less the gist of it. And since the number line is infinite again, we break it down into segments. Okay, this is the C scale. It starts from 261 to 520. This is the A scale. It starts from 440 to 880. Just the double. So it's sort of a convenience for us, and it gives a framework that, okay, if you sing in this range and you maintain your ratios, it will sound good. Okay. So I sort of lied to you when I said that there is only one frequency coming out. So when you play a musical instrument, say a guitar or a keyboard, we saw a video where it was linear, right? But it's more spherical in nature. It travels as a sphere, and it's not just one note. So when I'm talking or when I'm playing a note, there are multiple other waves which come into picture. So apart from the 440 hertz, because of disturbances, it goes back to the end. It bounces back, echoes. Think of a string, two pins, and I have a string in between them. I sort of oscillate here, and you have a wave, right? You have a wave disturbance. You have molecules moving, and they hit and they bounce back. So around half the point, what happens is you'll have another smaller wave here. You'll have another smaller wave here. Again over here, you'll have another smaller wave because they keep colliding with each other. And I don't know the exact physics behind it, but it's the rough idea is this, where you have multiple other waves coming into picture at different frequencies. But the fundamental wave, that with the loudest volume, that is the fundamental frequency, that they call it the fundamental frequency. So you have string on the beat bound between 2 points. uh, so you have a guitar, you have a piano, or say Hari is singing here, and Sumitra is also singing. So even though they're singing the same song, the texture to the sound is very different, even though they're singing the same frequency. So these add-on frequencies called the overtone series, they give sound the texture. So when I'm talking, it's not a pure note. It's an amalgamation of notes, and your ear can only hear the loudest frequency.
So
Uh,
this texture concept kind of quantifiable or is it you know,
it's defiable.
no.
So
Texture is it like voice of the person?
yeah, voice of a person. So this is a tuning fork. This is playing 440 hertz. It's not pleasant at all. Like it's 440 hertz. But the same thing on a guitar. But the same thing on a guitar, it sounds good because there are overtones. Apart from the 440 hertz, you have 880 hertz at a lower volume. You have 1760 hertz at a lower volume, adding texture to it.
So I think that's also why like a MIDI sound doesn't really
Yeah.
sound very good. I guess.
So you said you can only hear the loudest, the highest frequency sound. But there are other collisions happening as well. And how is it that those sounds of those
You can hear all of them. But a musician or anybody else, when they sing, when you try to copy what they're singing, you identify the loudest note. Yeah. So a tuning fork plays a pure frequency with no overtones, with nothing extra, and you heard just how annoying it sounded. The same thing with the guitar, and yeah. So, oops, sorry. So a quick demonstration, sort of, not a demonstration, a table. You have the fundamental frequency 440 hertz, which the string vibrates the loudest at. the first overtone is double of it. It's all simple ratios, 880 hertz. Then you have the second overtone, which is 3 times the fundamental overtone, which is 1320. So our brain loves symmetry. It loves simple ratios. You have this, right, golden ratio, the, what do you call it, Fibonacci series. Uh, so so you have these simple ratios which sort of sound good with the fundamental frequency. So fundamental is the loudest frequency, and I mentioned just a moment ago that you sort of segment the infinite into a section from 440 to 880 hertz, which is a scale, which is an octave, not a scale, which is an octave. So now, if you notice, the ratio between the second overtone and the first overtone is 3 is to 2, 1320 to 880. Third overtone and second overtone is 4 is to 3, 1760 is to 1320, and the first overtone 2 is to 1. So since our brain likes these ratios because of these overtones is how we perceive sound. So now you have a segment 440 to 880, and now if I apply the same ratio here, 2 is to 3, okay, 440 is to 660. So this is the perfect fifth interval. That's why it's called perfect fifth. Then you have the perfect fourth is I'm forgetting the number, but again, it's the ratio almost matches with 440 and with the overtone series. That's why it's called perfect, and that's why music sounds good. And all the notes you have 12 notes, right? Sa re ga ma pa dha ni sa, 7 notes, and the sharps and the flats. You have 12 notes. So all of them are based on these ratios, and the strings, the keyboard strings, the guitar strings, the lengths. You'll notice that they're thicker and they become thinner and thinner, right? So it's all just to meet the number of vibrations.
What is this perfect?
So you have the overtone series, and you have ratios, right? The ratio of the second overtone to the first overtone is 3 is to 2. The ratio of the third overtone to the second overtone is 4 is to 3. So if any frequency, if any note with the starting note, it has the same ratio. So 660 is 3 is to 2. So these two would sound, even though, yeah, they would sound good together, even though they aren't. It isn't 1760, it's 660, but the ratio is 3 is to 2 with the original, so it sounds good. Uh,
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
so yeah, so what exactly, now we've seen the fundamentals of notes, we've seen what frequencies, what sound is, what note is. Now what is music and keys? So again, we have infinite numbers, so it's not possible to play it's not possible to play so much in one song, right? So divide into 12 equal parts, we saw last time, 440 to 880, divide into 12 almost equal parts, not equal. uh, so it's sort of like how it's with movies, right? You have a build up, the verse, and then you have something interesting happening, the chorus. You have small talk, and then you have something interesting big coming up in the conversation. Again, you have small talk. It's sort of a dance between anticipation and climax. Like same with movies, same with conversations, same with music. Uh, and and now when I'm singing or when I'm performing, say, and there are other musicians there, I say, okay, let's perform in the key of A. So what would that imply? You have A, that is 440, and you have up to 880, and we know the good notes. We know the good notes now, right? So if the other musicians and all the musicians stick to those good notes, no matter what they do, it would more or less sound. It would sound good. Yeah. Yeah. So any questions or? Hey, hi.
I have no idea what this is about.
Huh.
Something, but I have one question. Like when someone performs, I personally consider tone deaf
Okay.
by myself and typically others as well. So I don't really know what's like good music or bad music, but I've been to a whole bunch of musical performances, live, etc. And typically, I'm of the belief that there's like an acquired taste. There are people who have an understanding of what the performers actually do, all the stuff that you mentioned. So is there something there like the person who's performing is actually trained to do that, but does the audience also need to be trained in order to be able to perceive all this, or is this subconscious?
So our brains by default they love symmetry. So it loves symmetry. So it's your natural tendency to like it. It's also a cycle sort of thing where you like it, they play it, again you get used to it, and they play it even more. So it's a cycle also, and it's naturally occurring also.
So then what do you call the person who's like, there are some people who are like aficionados or rasika or someone who's like very keenly following a certain genre, a certain artist, right? Like what happens in their brains? Is there something like anyone just walks in and like hears this for the first time? Do they experience it in the same way? Or do people who come here consistently for a long period of time have heard it since childhood or like for many years? Does their brain perceive it in a different way?
So you have 12 notes, right?
Yeah.
So some notes sound really good together. It's very easy to like them in pop songs. But the other notes they sound a little dissonant. Jazz, big band, big boy and big boy, uh, yeah, big boy band, right? What is it? Genre, huh? Like jazz, big band, yeah. Huh? No, big. Uh, it's very famous in saloons and from the olden days. Yeah, so those are sort of an acquired taste, but the notes,
Bluegrass.
no. Big boy or something, big band or something like that. So if you like a lot of things, it's probably you like it. It's not that.
So there's some that can be picked up.
Yeah, the very likable notes 1 4 5 and 1 4 5 6, which are very likable instantly. Those everyone likes by default. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Does anyone have questions for Abhirath?
So, everybody's brain is different, but of course we would like symmetry. So, is there a possibility that we can create a music or